Hello everyone and welcome to the Bitcoin section of the course. In this section of the course, we're going to be covering everything to do with Bitcoins, from what Bitcoins are to how they work, and all the way on to how you can basically use it for transactions on the deep web or the dark net. So let's get started. So in this video, this is a basic introduction to what Bitcoin is, how it's used, and what the current value is. So let's get started. So firstly, you'll realize that Bitcoin has a very nice logo. I mean, it just looks like a coin, but with a bit. Basically, the B means a bit. So let's get started. Coming on to understanding what a Bitcoin is, you first have to understand that it has an abbreviation, and that is BTC. So let me basically explain what Bitcoin is. So Bitcoin, firstly, is a decentralized currency, which essentially means that it's not a physical currency. It's used on the internet. So it's not a currency that you can basically have physically. It's a currency that is essentially worth value on the internet or digitally. Alright, so if today the internet were to collapse, Bitcoin would also collapse with it. And money, as like money has today, will not have any real value. However, it does have value because the internet is such a widely used tool. Secondly, it's the most preferred for payments on the dark web or the deep web. And I think most of you guys already know this, that it is the most preferred method of payment when coming to transactions on the deep web, for the simple fact that it has the best anonymity in terms of how anonymous this payment is. Now, you also have to understand that Bitcoin is not completely anonymous, alright? It's not really completely hidden behind any shadows. However, it is much more anonymous when compared to your credit card. And I'm gonna get into basically Bitcoin mixing in the future videos in this section. So let's go on until the final part here, which is basically Bitcoin is a very erratic currency. Now let me explain what this means. Bitcoin is highly volatile and unpredictable in the sense that it does not store value in a very predictable fashion. Now you might be asking yourself, well, has Bitcoin's value always risen? Well, yes, that's true, but it has sometimes gone down, and that really is dangerous in terms of people who want to try and invest in it. I will not recommend anyone to invest heavily into Bitcoin, because you can't really tell what the value is going to be a few years from now, and we're going to get into that in a few minutes here. Now let's actually look at some basic Bitcoin terminology. You might have heard of some of these terms if you're keen on the whole Bitcoin scene. So firstly, you have your Bitcoin wallet. Alright, now this is where your Bitcoins will be stored for later use. It's just your virtual wallet where you can store Bitcoins. Alright, this is unique to you and it's protected by you. You have a password, and you basically understand that this is your wallet where you can store your Bitcoins. Of course, it's a virtual wallet. Now, secondly, Bitcoin address. Alright, now this is basically an alphanumeric key that will be used to send and receive Bitcoin. Now this is your unique address that will be used, for example, if you want to pay someone on the deep web or the darknet, you basically give them your Bitcoin address, and so on and so forth, vice versa. Now, a blockchain. This isn't really important right now. We'll get into it when we're talking about Bitcoin mining. But basically, a blockchain is a list of blocks, which I'll explain what a block is, that have been mined since the start of cryptocurrency. Now, I'll get to that in a few minutes, most probably in the next videos. Now let's look at what a Bitcoin ATM is. Now, a Bitcoin ATM is a location where you can buy Bitcoins with real money. So this is where you exchange your money, for example, US dollars, that's an example, or you can talk about the Great Britain pound. You can exchange that for Bitcoin, alright? So you're basically transferring, as you guys know, you're basically converting your currency into Bitcoin, alright? And vice versa. Now, let's look at Bitcoin mining, which is a very, very hot topic right now. And I'll probably cover a few videos on Bitcoin mining and how you can do it yourself. So Bitcoin mining is the generation or production of Bitcoins in the exchange for solving cryptographic problems using computer processing. So basically, if I were to set up a hypothetical Bitcoin miner, this will include a computer, obviously, And essentially what your computer is going to be doing, it's going to be using a lot of its processing power for solving these cryptographic problems. And in exchange for your service, you will be granted a certain amount of Bitcoin depending on the complexity of the cryptographic problem you are using. I hope that wasn't too confusing. But essentially Bitcoin mining is, as most of you, or as I'm guessing some of you may have heard, is basically just a cluster of computers connected together performing cryptographic problems in exchange for Bitcoin, which later can be converted into real money. So it is a money making scheme. Now let's look at the Bitcoin value, because I think it's very essential that we understand what I was pointing out earlier. If we look as of recording this video, the Bitcoin is 2,218.47 US dollars. That's one Bitcoin. Now, if you pay attention to this little graph here, it's going to tell you that Bitcoin started out almost at a zero value in 2013. All right. Now, by the end of 2013, going on to 2014, it took the hugest spike, I think, in value, and went up to, I think, $1,120, if I'm not wrong, if I kept up with that right. And then after 2 months, it dropped. All right, a few $100s, and then it climbed again, and then it dropped, and then it climbed again, and then it went down by the end of 2014, and then it climbed again just at the beginning of 2015, and then declined very steadily, I think up to $300 or $200, and then kept steady throughout the entire 2015, the mid and of 2015 onwards, and then all the way to 2016, the beginning of 2016, it started climbing at a very steady rate, almost like a tangent curve, as you can see right here, with a few hikes along the way. And the highest value, the highest peak, I think, that it's reached ever in history is basically very, very recently in 2017. As you can see, the value is now $2,000. But what I was pointing out with how erratic it is as you can see, this graph does not make very sense if you are to look at it in a mathematical or statistical point of view. What I mean is, if you guys are aware of statistics, you will understand that this graph is not a very good graph in terms of if you are investing in this currency, for example, because it goes up, comes down, goes up, comes down very erratically. It's not stable for a long period of time. It would be acceptable if the value would keep on going, but over the period of 2 years increase gradually with little or no spikes, because that is very, very threatening, and you really can't tell what the future holds. So that's basically it for this video, guys. If you have any questions, just let me know in the Q&A section of the course. I'm going to be continuing in the next video about how to set up your Bitcoin address and your wallet for Bitcoin transactions. So thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.